Okay, so welcome back to the show, and now I have the honor to have Coach Bobbi from Australia here. Good morning.
Good morning, Bertrand. How are you?
I'm good, and you, how are you?
Yeah, really, really well. Pleased to be here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you on this show, and to be talking to you because you are coming from Australia, and it's quite a long way from here where I am.
Yes, very long way, but it's the wonders of modern technology that we're able to connect like this.
Yeah, it is wonderful. Yeah. So I think that both of us we have been connected on the internet for a while now on Facebook, and we have been following each other, and it's just great now to be talking to you. And there's one thing that I would like to start is, and it's something on your website I think, it's be the person you wish your children to be. And I think this quote is really good. Can you talk a bit more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Bertrand, I've found that many people have the desire to change, and yet there's something really stopping them from actually taking that first step and making those changes. And what I've realized with parents in particular, they'll do anything for their children. There is this unconditional love where they would step up, where they would just do anything for the betterment of their children's lives. And I was watching an episode of Dr. Phil a couple of years ago, and he said to this woman, "Would you die for your children?" And this woman said, "Absolutely," as most of us as parents would say, "Absolutely, I would die for my children." And then he said to this woman, and it would have been the most powerful bit of TV I've ever seen, he said, "Would you then live for your children?" And she looked shocked and she thought, I think something totally clicked in her that day. And it got me thinking since then, and this is how I will often put this to the people that I work with, the women, mothers in particular, but it does pertain to the fathers. If you have trouble giving to yourself, look at it this way. If you nurture yourself, if you love yourself, if you accept yourself, if you can be all that you can be, you will be a role model that your children can emulate. So if you can't really find it inside you to do it for you, do it for your children because you'll be giving them the beautiful gift of who they can become as adults.
Yeah, and you're completely right here. That this question, would you live for your children? It's a tough one because when you ask it, I was just thinking about myself because I'm a single dad, and I would say, do I really live fully for her or not? And it's just making you think about this, yeah.
Look, absolutely, and I'm in the same boat, and this has got me thinking of late. I'm a single mother. What sort of example do I want to be to my children? What do I want to be teaching them? Do I want to be teaching them someone who thinks life happens to me, or do I want to teach them that no, I go out and I make my life happen? And certainly there are challenges and obstacles and ups and downs, but I want to show them the way in which I choose to deal with it. And life is all about a choice, and they're going to be faced with difficulties and wonderful highs and desperate lows, but I'm really wanting to teach them that it's who we choose to be that how our life is going to unfold.
Completely, yeah, completely. And you're right. So before we continue on the interview, because I tried to describe who you are, but it's quite difficult because you're doing so many different things. And so can you just explain to us who you are and what you're doing in your life?
Sure. Well, who I am is I've been coaching for 4 years now, but who I have evolved into, I guess, is a self-empowerment and life transition specialist. So what I found was on my own journey over the last 5 years, I myself have been through many challenges and difficulties, and life has really, really been a roller coaster ride. And over the last 5 years, I picked up many, many learnings along the way. And this has now culminated and come together in my 12 steps to self-empowerment. Um, it's based on my own life, so I'm teaching and passing on information from my own life. And I'm now doing, I've nearly completed, I'm doing a coaching program based on these 12 steps, and I'm also running workshops based on 12 steps. I also provide breakthrough coaching. Now, breakthrough coaching, I describe that as if we're going to redecorate a room in our home or renovate, what we will do is we'll go into that room, we'll clear the space of all the unwanted furnishings and trinkets and ornaments that we've collected over the years that may have once served us or been a reflection of us at that time, but we get rid of all that we do not no longer need. And what we do is we clear the space, and then we're able to bring in new things that reflect who we are now and who we wish to be and our personality. So with the breakthrough coaching, primarily we go into the unconscious mind and we declutter. We create a beautiful space, and then the client is able to bring in new furnishings for their mind, so to speak, for a more compelling future. So primarily it's the breakthrough coaching and the 12 steps coaching. I also myself do a couple of radio programs. I teach at the local community college with personal development. I write for spiritually based magazines. I'm part of the team at Spirit Magazines. I do a lot, and I'm a mother, which is my, obviously, my biggest role in life. I'm a mother to two beautiful girls, so juggling, but I think that just satisfies my need for variety, absolutely.
Yeah, the need for variety, I do understand, but yeah, you seem to be doing so many things and just be here to serve so many people. And it's just beautiful to see this. I didn't know that you were a single mom. That's news for me, and it's amazing that you're doing this also. Yeah.
Well, it's part of my, it's interesting because through my own story, and I truly believe this, and I see it, and it's what I do. Through my own story, I can assist others, and I've come out on the other side, and I recently even I did have a new partner after my divorce, and that. I learned a lot from that, and that actually didn't serve me on the level that it needed to as well. So it was coming from a place of, once again, okay, do I sit in this environment or do I make a choice? It's all about choices. And do I serve myself and my children and move on from this? So it's, it hasn't been a life of just sitting in a Zen-like place and meditating with a bright shining light. I'm an everyday woman with relationship issues and working and doing the juggling of a single parent. I've got it all, and I think I'm finding that's what linking me to the community out there, because I often get comments, you're speaking directly to me. This is happening to me of late, and I think the beauty in it is that I'm an everyday person who is living through what a lot of women and men live through, but I'm choosing to do it in an empowered way.
So that's your biggest decision, the biggest choice, because you keep on coming with the word choice. So that's why I'm asking the question. That's your biggest choice that you have taken so far, then, is to live in an empowered way.
And I don't think there is any other way to be for me personally. It brings me. And I choose, Bertrand, I think it's just, I choose to live with joy. And I just find that when I'm embracing this joy, I'm just naturally more empowered. I'm making better choices. So I choose to live life in a joyous way. I certainly know what it's like to not choose, I'm sorry about that bipping, to not choose joy. And once again, I've had drama, tragedy, desperate lows, all of that. I haven't had this most perfect life, but I choose to see what I can make out of any of it. I truly do not believe there's an alternate way for me anyway.
Yeah. So, if you don't mind, because I think that your journey is what brought you to become who you are today. So, do you want to talk about your journey and what really you have learned about yourself in this journey?
Oh, well, it's the journey in itself. Well, if I talk about the contrast between perhaps who I was 5 years ago and who I am now, it was very much, I was very much a person living with fear, doubt, insecurity, lack of trust, lack of strength, no self-esteem, lack of self-worth, and belief. I depended on the world to make my life better. I expected that the world had to change in order for me to be happy. And then I got to a point in my life where I realized my grandmother passed away, and she left me a little bit of an inheritance, and with that came a note, and she was 95 when she passed away. And in the note it said, Bobbi, I look back, it was a very happy note, it wasn't solemn, it said, Bobbi, I look back on my life with fond memories. And I thought, wow, at this point, apart from my two beautiful daughters, I don't really have that many fond memories to look back on. And that really concerned me, and it jolted me into thinking, my goodness, I'm waiting for my life to happen. I'm not going out there and making my life happen at all. So from that moment on, it almost shocked me into realizing that it was going to be up to me. So that started me on my journey of change, and I looked at my marriage, which was very unfulfilling, and through no one's fault of our own, except that we weren't a very good match. We had come together as quite young people in our early 20s, and our marriage was not serving us. So I was in that position. My work, I was doing what I thought people expected me to do rather than following my passion. And I just wasn't living in a way that was providing me with any joy. So I decided at that point that things must change. So when I made the intention, the marriage started to come apart, and I had to make major decisions from that. I was thrust into being on my own. I had to learn how to manage. I did so initially kicking and screaming. I wanted to hang on to that safety and security. And then after a while, I started to see that I was only really fearing fear, because me being on my own actually was quite amazing. It was amazing to start to find some strength and also to find myself in the journey. So over the last 5 years, there were many learnings, embracing trust, following my passion, inspiring others, learning the art of gratitude, deciding to become the victor rather than the victim. All these things come into play, which are part of the 12 steps. And for me, it was a slow process. The exciting thing for me is now that I can take people through this process in about 8 weeks. So I'm thrilled that I can pass on what took me 5 years in either a weekend workshop or an 8-week coaching program. So the contrast is now that I'm living authentically, I'm strong, focused, living with my passion. I'm able to inspire others. I connect with spirit. I work with them on a regular basis. It's all just really turned around. And as I said before, and as I always say to my coaching clients, it's not about becoming or getting to a point where you live a Stepford life, where you're like one of these Stepford women where everything's perfect. It's not, and it's never going to be. It's about doing the human thing with all the emotions and the ups and downs. And sure, sometimes I get scared and sometimes I get fearful. But Bertrand, it's all about all the while having the awareness that this shall pass, and actually there is a better way of being, doing, and having. So we'll all do the human thing, and we'll all make mistakes, and we'll all, scream and shout and do whatever. But at the end of the day, it's if you can bring yourself back to a point to say to yourself, I can do it better, then that's the main thing. It's having that awareness that life can be different.
Yeah, and it resonates quite a lot with my own life, except that I needed to crash in order to become who I am now. And you seem to be having this trigger with your granny that helps you to realize this, and it's sometimes better. But it's also, I think that it was very courageous what you did, because I crashed, so I didn't really have a choice. I needed to bounce back from here. But you took the decision to become a better version of you, knowing that you have to destroy a little bit your life that you had at the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes you have to, I really believe often we have to create a space. And I've said this before actually. Once we, often when we create a space, we can just allow God to rush in because we need to mirror we need to mirror what we expect the universe is going to give us. We need to be acting, and as I posted on Facebook this morning, if we act as if we clear that space ready, that will mirror us, that will correspond. We will experience in our life that which we are creating ourselves. So, yeah, I think, you know, there's a lot of, we often have to decide what's more painful, living in the place that we're in or just stepping out and seeing what's out there. And usually it's more painful, I would say, for me it was, to have remained in the same place. I would ask myself, do I want to be in this situation for the next 5, 10, 20 years? How does that make me feel? And I normally just get a feeling of dread, thinking no. And that will really propel me to make that change.
Yeah, because you now know that there's something, you have experiences, so you know this, that there's something better in your life. But most people who are still stuck in the life as you were before, as you say, in your contrasts, they don't know that there's something different. So it's really scary, and they don't really believe that they have the power inside them to create what they want to create.
And you know what? Initially, it's embracing faith and trust. That's all you can do. And you just have to, it's almost like dipping your big toe into that freezing cold ocean. You really have to test the waters. You really have to. It's connecting with whoever your God is, and having that faith and trust. I think initially you're not going to have evidence to show. Like I have my evidence now that, oh God, yes, when I jump off, I build my wings and I fly. You know what? It's in the first instance of making major changes, you're just going to have to embrace faith and trust. That's all you can do. And if you put it out there that you want to be supported, you will be supported. Absolutely.
And that's a good point. And I think it's interesting that we just mentioned this here before we go back to the cluttering and the tidying up, cleaning up of beliefs that are holding us back. It's true that when we are in this place where we have faith, as you say, but also where we are eager to embrace more of life, as you say, we are supported. And people are just coming in our life here.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And, you know, there's great power in setting intentions. You know, I coach people. It's funny. I'll have people contact me and we'll make an appointment, and usually it's maybe 2 to 3 weeks until I coach them. And they will come to the coaching session and say, you know, it's quite amazing because I have found that changes have already started happening even before today, even before we come together. And I'll always say that it's because once we set the intention and once you put that out there, because thoughts are energy, once you put that energy out there, your support team of guides and angels and whoever's out there will start working on your behalf. They don't have to wait. They will start putting things in place and laying groundwork for you to make that change.
Yeah, and I guess that's something also else that happens when there is this time, is that people are starting to hope. Yeah, and when they start to hope, they start to let go of some of the things that they're clinging on, and then it's easy, a bit looser, and then you're right, because our angel and guides are always working for us. But if we don't listen to them, and if we don't allow them to express, then they can do what they want. We don't allow them to do anything. So.
Exactly, and this is a key point that you've just brought up, is that we have to. They won't intervene without the request to intervene. So building a relationship with them is vitally important, and it's also about learning. And this is in the book as well. It's also about learning spirit language. Understanding that there are people who can see and hear and understand spirit as you and I are speaking now. They're the lucky few, but for most of us, we're going to have to look between the lines and listen between the lines and notice synchronicity, notice the symbolism, notice the feelings around us. And I believe spirit language for all of us is going to be, it's going to be a different experience for all of us, but it's starting to just open your eyes and notice what exactly is going on around you, especially opportunities that are presented to you, looking at things that happen a few times, because I really believe in, you know, that synchronicity is akin to a God wink, saying, yes, come on, we want you to see what's being put in front of you. So yeah, it's about really allowing them to come into your life.
Yeah, and I think that they need to, especially for me, they need to come 3 or 4 times, because I'm a little bit, how can I say, focused on not seeing what's bringing me. So yeah, they need to say, okay, here it is, here it is. Oh yeah, thank you.
Exactly. Well, if it's happening, that's a good thing.
Yeah, but it's funny what you said before about your granny and the letter. I'm coming back to this because there was something that when you were telling me this, that I remember Brendan Burchard. You probably know him.
Yeah.
He's one of the coach, and he has 3 questions that he asks every single evening: is did I live today? Did I love? And did I matter? And that's really, really powerful questions. Yeah.
Yes, I feel all this energy around me as you say that. Yeah, and you know, and it all really pertains to self, like, did I matter? Did I matter to me? Who was I being? Was I being the best version of me that I could be? That's fantastic. I love that. What a powerful way to end the day, you know, to reflect on that day.
Yeah, and it's also amazing what you said, that you are a normal person, and so am I. And what the message that I would like to get to listeners is that we have done this, so everybody can do this. It is open for everybody, and it's just, as you said, it's a decision away.
Yes, and this is what I like to hammer home all the time. I was like, well, not you in particular, but like the audience out there who are living with fear. I was there. I was the biggest chicken on the planet. I was so into my own security, safety, and comfort for so long. And I was fearful and I didn't trust. And I was really, really scared because I had been supported all my life. I had chosen to live with people. Even when I traveled overseas, I moved in with a family and I was their nanny, so they would look after me. I didn't even do the normal backpacking thing. I had people, and then I met my ex-husband. I always had people looking after me. I was the world's biggest chicken. But I've done it, and so I can so identify where the fear is. I hear questions saying, like, I don't know if I'll make the right decision. I want to stay for my children's sake. I don't know how I'll manage financially. That was me. That was totally me. But it's amazing initially if you just embrace that faith and trust, you will be supported. Look, even down to the practicalities. In most Western countries, there are going to be support services for you. You will not be left in a gutter with your children. You will have, you will be financially supported. There are networks. There are people, even schools. It's amazing how supportive my children's school was in relation to taking care of the children and their needs, and also making sure I was okay. There are other women in the same boat that you can connect with. You are not alone if you take that step. And family, friends, everyone's there.
Yeah. Yes, and you're right. Once we have this initial fear, which is it's just an illusion, I would say, this initial fear that we may lose everything. After, it is also we have to look for support also for our own journey, and we have to find the people around us that are going to be supportive and going to be our network that will help us to move forward also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must just point out that it's often in loss that we gain, and you're asking me, or you're mentioning these things that I've just posted stuff about in the last 24 hours, because through loss, you find and you do gain. And look, I lost financially. I walked away from a 15-year marriage with pretty much nothing, pretty much nothing financially. However, what I gained was this self-worth and value, which is so priceless and extends far beyond this lifetime and its materialistic possessions that we may have. I've now got something that sits and resides within my soul that I'll carry on past this life and into the next life, and it's priceless. So, you know, as I said, I was supported financially in the fact that I wasn't left to, you know, live in a gutter or on a piece of cardboard. In the Western world, there are support services to help us. That's great, and I was supported, but by no means was I left with a great settlement or anything like that. But it was so much more than that. It was really the gift of self-worth and self-acceptance is just, I would, you know what, if someone said to me, here's $500,000, I want your self-worth, I would tell them where to go, because there's just no way that I would swap that for anything.
No, and you can't say this on this show because it's broadcast in the US, so they will not like this.
I wouldn't say that, but I would send them on their merry way, Bertrand.
But you can say this in Ireland, it's fine, but not in this one. But you're right.
I know what you in Ireland. I've been to Ireland. It's a free-for-all.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a very, very direct language country also. But you're right, is that if you don't hit the bottom, and that's something I learned myself, because when I was on this journey, I had this illusion at some stage, because I was so scared that I wanted to have money quickly and so on. But I realized that if I had the money too early, I will not be who I am today. I will not have this hunger of getting more and more, and instead of just being good, not to strive for being great or excellent. And that's also something very important. We need this in order to grow to our true potential here.
Sure, absolutely. And what else I've always done is, you know, I think if we fear something, we'll stop it from coming to us. And even though I walked away with not much, I have a good relationship with money. I don't fear it. I don't mind paying bills. And in fact, I just live with the assumption that and it does. I have a very, relaxed attitude, not in the sense that I will just spend what I don't have. I don't have credit cards or anything like that. I manage money really well and I respect it, but I also have a really good relationship with it. I don't fear it. It's just there and I just expect it to come to me. So, you know, that's something too that people who are wanting to perhaps leave a relationship that isn't serving them, embrace, affirm to yourself that there is money, because and develop a good relationship with it, because it always seems to come to me, and I think it's because I don't put up barriers of fear about it. I just know that I'm supported on all levels, which really does help, and that does come as part of that faith and trust as well.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I like the fact that you're mentioning this relationship with money, because it is a relationship, and we can't, it's like with a relationship with a girlfriend, you can't say, I am with this great woman, a great lady, and then on her back, just say bad things about her. And that's what we tend to do with money. It's then that, yeah, I like money when it's here, but when I start to lack it, then it's just so too difficult, and then we start really to whinge about this and say bad things, which is why we don't have the money after a while.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because I'm able to see what negative ideas about money and how they impact on people. My ex-husband is from the UK, and he is from Northern England, where I have experienced quite a bit of time there. And I got the feeling that there's a lot of negative energy about not having enough in that part of the world, for some, not everybody, but for some. And I saw it very evident in him and his family, this focusing on lack and fearing that they will have enough. It was always with the sense that that there's a negative energy surrounding having enough and having nice things. And, you know, it's interesting because to this day, if he mentions money, it will, it's always in the context that things are hard, it's a struggle. And it's quite interesting to see that his life does become a struggle, whereas I just embrace this light-hearted relationship with it. And, you know, like I said, I've still got bills to pay, but it's letting go of the tension around money, which I think is vital. And I just trust that I'll be supported. And sometimes support doesn't come by someone handing you a wad of cash or a check. It can come as a job opportunity, and not necessarily in the way that you may think. I mean, money will come to you and support will come to you in any number of ways, and the key is just to be open to receiving how it needs to come to you in that moment.
Yeah, it's to be open to this, to see it, and then to be grateful. So if we receive, let's say, I don't know, a free meal or something like this, just an example, it's not to say, yeah, that's great, but I would have preferred to have a shake or something, and
Yeah.
it's not really respecting the fact that we received something. Yeah.
Yeah. Gratitude is so important, and if we put out that energy of thanks, well, it's going to be cyclic. We get more back. Like for instance, if I give someone something and they say thanks and they love it, I want to give them more. And I think that goes the same with the universe. If it sees us being grateful and thankful and sending out that energy of gratitude, it's going to then open that channel and provide us with more of the same.
Yeah, true, completely true. But sometimes there is this self-worth that we don't feel that we deserve this, whether it's money or whether it's a thank you. It's the same thing, and that's where people are starting to stop this energy flow and stop receiving and allowing to receive.
Yeah, I think gratitude for a lot of people, and for me as well. It's or even the receiving. It's practice, and I often think too. I often think we have to, even if we're not really there yet with the idea of self-deserving, we really need to act as if, because if we tell ourselves enough, that new belief will be embedded as part of us. And what we have to do is we have to, for instance, practice saying thank you when someone says, "You look lovely today. Thank you." And it may seem awfully difficult at first, but it will then become normal, and it's opening us up to receive. So more often than not, someone used to say, "Oh, you look nice today." "Oh, this old thing, it's just cheap from this store and it doesn't really fit." And I used to pretty much force them into retracting that statement. And now I just think, no, thank you. And it's especially, feedback on things that I do. I think saying thank you opens us up to receive more, and it really is something that we have to practice. I know a lot of people have issues with deserving, and another vital thing is that I've learned is that there is enough for everyone. There is enough for me, there is enough for you. The universe is limitless, therefore what we desire is limitless. There is no limit placed on what you can have, Bertrand, or what I can have, or what the person down the street can have. It's limitless, therefore there is enough for everyone. You are not taking away from anyone if you have.
No, and you're completely true here. You're not taking away. And because people are looking at this as a picture, and let's say the money, for example, money is just flowing around us all the time. And it's just flowing. So it's whether it's flow through us or not through us, it will flow anyway. So why not choose that it flows through us also?
Exactly. And money is a form of energy, and we have no trouble paying for things, so why do we have trouble receiving? And I often think if I throw a ball up in the air, the law of gravity will bring it back to me. It'll drop back down into my hand. Now, what about the laws around energy and the law of attraction? If I give money out, well, why shouldn't it come back to me? It's just another, energetic law. We're not all going around throwing up a ball in the air and thinking, no, don't come back to me. I don't deserve the ball. We just expect that what goes up comes down, and it's an exchange. It really is. So what we give out automatically should come back to us, and I think often it's our own fear and deserving issues that are stopping that happening. And that's the case, I think, for many people. This is where that whole decluttering thing comes into play, because it may be issues from past lives, it may be issues from this lifetime around, but when we've been very young that we don't we're not logically aware of now. They might be issues that are embedded deep in our unconscious from when we were a small child that make perfect sense then, but we don't understand why it's happening now. So that's the beauty in the breakthrough coaching, is that we go and find out exactly why this is happening. And the beauty of it is if we realize that we were the creators of that belief long ago, we had the power to create the belief. We have the power to get rid of it and put something else in its place.
Yeah, completely, yeah. And we have to always remember that if you have a belief, we put it in. Whether it was conscious or not conscious, that doesn't matter, but we put it in, so we have the right to replace it. But there is also this thing of worthiness, and for me it was one of the biggest things, to be honest. And as you said before, and I like this, when you said receiving is practice, it was practice for me too. And I remember I was sometimes on some community call, and when people were saying thank you to me, I was just closing my eyes and seeing the shower of thank you, because it was just getting more and more used to accepting this. And I think people should do this, yeah. And
it is. It's just practice. And you know what? It's even acknowledging yourself. For instance, what you said before about the questions to ask yourself at the end of the day. I mean, we can even focus on, what did I do well, or what do I, what do I deserve from today, or what can I say thank you to myself for today that I did? How was I a good person? How did I serve others? How did I serve myself? What contribution did I make to the world around me? There are many, many things that we can do to start acknowledging ourselves, and if we can acknowledge ourselves, then it's easy for us to allow others to acknowledge us as well.
Yeah. But it takes a lot of as you said exactly with your coaching. It takes a lot of changing the belief, changing our self-image, changing our fears, because sometimes there is a fear also of, if I become too powerful, I will not relate to my family, for example, or to people that I grew up with.
Yeah. I tend to think it's really important to keep it real, and that's why I really like to get across to people that I'm just that single mother who's made a choice to live differently. I'm no different, had the same challenges and ups and downs. But I also think, having a sense of your own personal power can really rub off on others as well. And I've seen that with my children, and that's what I'm loving. The ideas that they're embracing about who they are and what life is all about. My 7-year-old was talking the other day, was talking about a little girl in her class who likes to tell stories and embellish things. And she's the most beautiful little girl. And I've spoken to this girl's mum who says, oh, what's she telling you this time? But she makes up the most wonderful stories. It's quite lovely. And my 7-year-old was talking about this little girl and her stories. And the 12-year-old piped up and said, but what if she's just living her perfect self? And I thought, that's just, what if she is? And so this was the observation from my 12-year-old. And she said, and the 12-year-old said again last night, we were talking about someone else who talks the talk but doesn't necessarily walk the talk in their life. And my 12-year-old piped up again, and this is lovely that I see her coming with such compassion and non-judgment for others. And she said, what if he's just living his perfect self as well? And I just thought, this is wonderful. This is coming from children who are able to perhaps not pass judgment on others as we as adults might do. And so therefore, if you have a sense of your own power and personal power, and for me, empowerment is just basically self-love and self-acceptance. If you have that and you can share that energy with those around you, that's wonderful, and it's wonderful to see when it rubs off as well.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you, and I must say that in my own story, just because you said before, it's a decision of a choice that we make of becoming this authentic person and so on. When I took the decision, Julie, my daughter, it's not secret on this show, people know this, but we were really at the lowest, and we were fighting, and she was so unhappy, and so on. And now it's just completely different, just by taking the decision for me to become this, to allow myself to become who I am.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. And you know what? Through you doing that, she's going to, I would guess that she's going to think that it's okay for her to be herself as well and to live authentically as well.
Yeah, and I noticed that she doesn't take things personally anymore. You know, when she's rejected or before she was rejected. Now she's just saying, it's not my problem, it's her problem or his problem. And that's really freeing for her too.
That's amazing. That is wonderful.
Yeah, it is beautiful when it's happened, yeah. So you were talking about you also being very authentic. So can you just say a little bit what does it mean and how do you feel when you're yourself?
Well, first of all, what I learned was in order to be authentic, I need to know what I value. And that was the first step. Because I realized if I understood what I value and what my values were, then that would assist me in making the decisions based on who I was in my life. So it was identifying what my values were, and then it was embracing, really standing tall and true in who I was, and realizing that who I was with these values was okay. It was stepping on to being authentic for me was not hiding anymore from the path that I should be taking. It was stepping away from what was comfortable and safe and secure and stepping onto something that just made my heart sing every day. And this is, what I do really does that. So for me, living authentically is living with your passion, living with your purpose, standing tall and true in who you are and living by your values. But with that, you need to, when you stand tall and true in your purpose, you need to come from a place of being ecological, which for me is what I do, is it good for me, good for my community, and good for the world around me generally. So it doesn't just mean for me to be authentic and stand tall and true in my purpose, it doesn't mean that I can say anything, do anything, and not have any consequences. I have to understand that what I say will have an impact on people, whether it's positive or negative. I have to be respectful and tactful with other people. But for me being authentic, if I believe I'm coming from an ecological place, that I'm doing okay by myself and the world around me, then that's okay. And it was and being authentic is just embracing you for who you are, no matter what you look like, how much you weigh, how much money you have. It's about learning to smile just because you're you and it's doing what makes your heart sing. That's authentic for me.
Yeah, and it's a nice definition. And I would say that once you are really authentic and you're standing tall, as you said, you can only express service to others, because from this place you can only serve, and you can only serve with some kindness. Because I don't think that it will be congruent to from this place to be able to do any harm to any people.
Exactly. And I am coached regularly. And I said to my coach the other day, I faced some challenges recently. I don't understand why they're not affecting me in the way that it really should. Why are things just sliding? And he said, Bobby, because your joy tank is full. It's full. So when it's full, you're able to let things slide more easily. There may be murky water thrown into your tank, but it will get diluted and maybe come out down the bottom. But primarily, it's surrounded by a lot of joyous water. And I think that's the thing. When you are really personally fulfilled in what you're doing, it's very easy to you don't need to then keep taking and taking and taking from others. It's very easy to give and give and give because it automatically is an exchange once again. Everything's energy. So in being in a place of service and giving towards others, I often say it feeds my soul, and this is why doing what I do is my drug of choice, because in giving to others, it's just totally filling me personally as well. So it's very easy to, and this is the great thing about living your passion and your purpose, is that you don't really need to do much for yourself. It's all just coming back anyway. It's this wonderful exchange of energy.
Yeah, it's completely true. And it is, as you say, it's your heart that's just singing. And even if success is not here at the level that you expect it, it still makes every day just a magical day.
It does. It does. And I'm by no means where I'm going to end up. And I hope I can always keep changing and growing. I have a picture in my mind's eye of where I'm going, and you're right, I'm not there yet, but that's okay because I'm in the process of making it happen, and I love that every day I get to wake up and do this. And it was funny this morning because I was at my computer very early with my cup of coffee, and my brain wasn't really functioning yet, and I felt my heart chakra open and start whirring, and I just noticed that, wow, it's interesting. My heart's already singing and I haven't really woken up yet. So my mind wasn't there, but already. And I think now it's interesting because when it's now becoming habitual, because I have felt it most mornings, now I wake up and it's doing it automatically now. And as I said this morning, my brain hadn't even woken up fully, but yet it was happening again. And that sets the tone for my day. It sets the intention to, right, let's go, let's do it again. I want more of it.
Yeah, it's completely. When this happens, it's amazing, because for me it's more. It's not really when I'm in front of my computer. It's more. There are two things to notice: is when I'm looking at the candle. That's why I have plenty of candles around me now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here, so it's late, but I have this. And when I look at the clouds.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that's the two moments where I can just be there for hours, and ideas are just flowing, but they're just flowing, and I'm not really worried about anything.
Yeah, that's a perfect place to be, I think.
Yeah, especially in Ireland where there's a lot of clouds. So.
I know, but how nice is it when you can identify what is going to, those moments where you have clarity and connection. And I find that when I'm up very early in the morning, and I make a point of getting up quite early now and turning on my computer because I know it's in that period just before dawn that I seem to be very open to receiving. And like you have this connection when you look at the clouds or look at a candle. There's something, whether it be a time of day or a visual or just a feeling where you can be fully connected. So it's really nice to be able to identify when that happens.
Yeah, and I guess everybody can find this. Everybody can find this, and that's really. And then after it's as Esther X will say, it's after milking it. Once we are here at the start, I was very conscious, and I would say, I want just 1-2 more seconds of this, and I was milking 1-2 seconds, and now it's just automatic. But at the start, it was very, very conscious. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So, Bobby, our time is up. I can't believe this is already 1 hour nearly. So,
Very.
so if people would like to get in contact with you, so I know that you wrote a book, so there's 12 step of self-empowerment, but you have coaching programs, you have your radio program. So, what's the best place for people to connect with you?
Well, everyone can connect with me via my website, which is askcoachbobbi.com, and Bobby is Bobbi. And there you'll be able to link to the 12 Steps to Self-Empowerment page on Facebook and find out that site's a veritable encyclopedia of information. So it has everything I do on the site, so people can contact me there.
Yeah, okay. That's the best place then. And your Facebook page is Ask Coach Bobbi also?
The Facebook page is facebook.com/12 Steps to Self-Empowerment.
Okay. Okay, that's fantastic. So thank you very much for your time, and it was really great connecting with you. And
Lovely. Thank you, Bertrand.
I hope we will connect soon to work maybe more together. I hope so.
Sure. I think we're pretty similar in our ideas, so that would be fantastic.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.